Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button down below. It helps the channel grow, helps get the word out. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
Yeah, you can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well. Check us out on Reddit and Discord, and leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider.
We are here with a former great CFLer, NFLer, IFLer, league commissioner, and hopefully team owner in the coming future. Garrick Jones, thanks for joining us, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you guys for having me, man. It's good to be here.
Right on. So let's get into it. Tell us about your football journey, how you got into ball, what brought you to the next level, into university, into the pros. Make it as long as you want. We're here with a ride because I know it's a good ride.
No, it's all good, man. For me, I think my football journey started, when I was, I want to say maybe 8th, 9th grade in the States. And, for me personally, my journey is a lot different from a lot of other guys. Football was never my first love, and as you talk to me, you'll figure that out really quickly. Like, my older brothers were like the best athletes I'd ever seen. So they were the ones that were supposed to go and play in the professional leagues, right? The MLB, NBA, and the NFL and CFL and what other FL you may have. They were the ones, right? But me, man, my first love was always music and art, things of that nature, being creative. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. So, I just started growing, man. And before you know it, I figured, hell, I won't just be in class and be big, I'll go ahead and try to do a little something with it. And I never forget, I've had some coaches come to me, when I was really young and I'm not understanding what's going on really. And they was like, we don't know how serious you are uh, about professional sports or football, but we could very well see you playing on Sundays. And, at that time, I didn't think anything of it, but it kept happening. And every year it would happen, it would happen, it would happen. But I didn't really get really serious about football until I want to say my junior year in high school, right? So I was like, okay, I was a late bloomer, but I always had, I was very gifted, very blessed, and, with the skills and the size. You can't really coach that, and I had all those things. But man, that's really where it started for me. Once I really figured out that I could potentially, pay for school with it, and the whole scholarship aspect of things, and kind of watching how my parents were working, trying to put monies aside, all those different things. I said, man, I just need to go out here and make it happen, and that's essentially what I did, man. And from there, I had the opportunity to go to a lot of different schools. I was recruited and offered by schools across the country. But at that particular point, my mom, she was kind of going through some health issues. And, I didn't want to have her doing all of that traveling. Right. So I decided to stay home. Back from Arkansas, from where I'm from in Little Rock, Arkansas, rather, or North Little Rock, everybody's gung ho about the Arkansas Razorbacks. But at that time, I just wasn't feeling it. The head coach at the time, I didn't really have a good vibe about him, and I'm normally good at knowing, who's good people, but it just wasn't that with me.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Arkansas State, because they were bringing in a new head coach. He had just was the OC, with Ohio State, and when they won the Rose Bowl and all those different things. So Eddie George and all those guys. So I was like, well, I might give that one a shot, and then us being independent, all of the schools that offered me, we were going to go play them anyway, right? So we didn't have a conference. We were just out there, gung ho, just playing all these money games, man, and all those different things. But that experience for me in college was really cool. Because I got a chance to, get to know Mike Tomlin. He was a receivers coach at Arkansas State when I was there, and Coach Butler, and all these guys, man, right? So I have ties to them all, and a lot of people don't really get that until they get into the story. So when I say I'm connected, man, I'm connected, and it's really cool to just watch everybody doing their things. But eventually, we'll all meet up again and make some things happen. But by the time I got to my junior year, and this was before NIL deals, so we weren't able to work, and there was no money being made, all these different things, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to school year round. We were playing all these money games, these big teams. By the time I got to my junior year, I played against 10 guys that went first through the fourth round in the NFL draft. And I had some success. I was able to do some things against those guys, but that was personal success. As far as team wise, we weren't really doing all that good, man. It was money games, right? So we were building that foundation. But I started really looking at how the business of the game was, and because there were money games, and because this was pre NIL, we weren't touching any of that money. So I was like, man, this is hard. This is hard to go through the summers. You're hungry. You don't have any money. You can't work. And then my folks, I think they made $5 or $6 more than the limit to be able to get Pell Grants. Some silly number, right? And I was going through it, and I was thinking about a lot of different things. And I've had a lot of scouts looking at me, and they were like, "Hey, man, you're gonna be All-American next year, coming back for your senior year." And I was like, "No, I'm done. I'm done." So I ended up leaving, man, early, and I went home and worked the family business, and I figured, hell, I can do bad by myself. So let's give this a try. Went home, had a powwow with the folks, and they were like, "Man, you're not happy here. You got to do something." So I got a hold of some scout schedules, man, and I followed those guys from Little Rock to LA, from LA back to Mobile, Alabama to the Senior Bowl. So it took me about 8 months to do it. I'm watching all my guys on TV, playing the games I'm supposed to play against. But throughout that, man, it just taught me how to be consistent, how to be a pro without being paid. And it just really, that's a part of my testimony, right? So, going through that, the scouts, man, they had me doing some really silly stuff when it came down to working out, because I was showing up wherever they were watching tape on these different players. So I'm showing up with my cleats around my neck, and at that time my VHS tapes, and I'm kind of dating myself, but it was cool, man. And eventually they started working me out, man. They would work me out of some adverse conditions. I'm running in mud, rain. I'm running 40s in hotel hallways, just silly stuff, man. Anything you can think of to just break my spirit. But eventually, they figured out that I was for real, and I wasn't crazy. And from there, man, they really started giving me some really significant looks. And by the time I got to the Senior Bowl, guys were on the field practicing, and scouts were looking at them. But hell, I had 14, 15 scouts around me, and I'm at the junior high school working out personally for them, right? So it was a cool deal, man. It's something that taught me that to perseverance, really tested my character. In which I tell a lot of people now, this is the continuation when we talk about ownership. This is the exact same thing. I've been here before. I know what it's about. I know what it's like. But this is proven. This isn't potential. So, man, after that, just to kind of wrap it up or whatever, to be a long story short, Winnipeg essentially became my senior season of college ball, so to speak, because I was in Jacksonville, and I ended up getting released there because they brought their guy in, the guy they drafted, and I worked my way up. But that was my first little taste of politics. So I went from 111-degree weather to, I think it was -2, raining sideways in 4 days. So once I got there, man, Coach Dave Ritchie, he was the head coach at the time. By my second snap at practice, he was like, "You starting at left tackle." I didn't know anybody, didn't really know the rules. I didn't know the plays. This is really my first time being away from the house. So it was a lot, man. It was a lot on my plate. But that first game I started was against Alfred Payton Swag. He was a sack leader. So I had some good guys next to me: Mo Elwanibi, Benedict Abizi, I had Dave Mudge. And those guys, man, and Mo said, "Hey, you going back down south? Don't worry about it. I'll tell you where to go." So if you watch on film, a lot of the older film that I was out there playing, he was pointing where I needed to go before each play, and that's how we did what we did, man. It was a good time, man. We came, and before I had made it there, I think Garrick Jones was sacked like 20 times, and then after I came in, we shut that down, and we didn't give up a sack for a while there, man. And I came in like gangbusters, man. I didn't know anything. All I knew was to go play ball, right? And then all those scouts that worked me out on the road finally got a chance to see me in pads. And then that's when the snowball happened. And after that season, man, I think we just missed it by that much. But ended up, when I got done, I ended up going to work out for like 14 different teams. And 8 to 9 of those teams wanted to sign me. So That's pretty much how it happened, man. It's been a whirlwind, but I get the opportunity to recall on those things and what I went through and how I learned the business of professional sports. And because I've been around a lot of teams, man. And by far, though, Winnipeg and the CFL, for me personally was the best ball I've ever played, just from the fans, the atmosphere, the opportunities that it gave me, the speed of the game. It was all those things, man. I loved it. I loved every minute of it, man. And that's why I said, when I'm done playing, we're really going to get into ownership, and we're really going to, we're going to plead our case in this deal, man, because we have what it takes to bring things to the next level as far as the maturation of the CFL game and going to the next level in those things, because it's time, man. We're
Yeah.
ready to do it, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it right now.
Love it, brother. Love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So before you came here, had you heard about the CFL at all, or Winnipeg, or anything?
I didn't. Well, I had a couple of older guys that I looked up to that played in the CFL. So that was the extent of it, right?
Yeah.
Coming from the States, it really wasn't promoted here, and that's one of the things that I looked at when I first got there. I was like, man, this is a nice game. I like it a lot, and I just love it. But we never really saw it, as much as we would see the NFL or those things. But you would see guys come back home and they'd have their gear on, and then they kind of break down what team they were on and those things. But it's different when you experience it yourself, right? Because that's the thing, and that's, man, I had never heard of it. I didn't know the rules. I didn't know any of it. The field was huge. I was like, man, okay, let's do it.
Well, yeah,
Right
they had the expansion into the States in the mid '90s or whatever it was, and that failed, miserably. Besides, Baltimore was the only one that kind of succeeded a little bit.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
it's like a cup of coffee down there. That was it.
That's it. A quick cup too.
Okay, so you came in 2002. Obviously, the
Mhm.
Bombers had made the Grey Cup in 2001. You're
Yeah.
part of this now unfinished business, which Ray and I hate slogans and all that kind of stuff with the unfinished business.
I got you.
So yeah, they were so close. They were a good team in 2001, should have won again in 2002. You guys had another
Right.
very good team. What was the vibe around that team after 2001 and when you get here in 2002, knowing that they probably should have won the year before?
Yeah.
But now they got to try and make sure they're winning in 2002, which unfortunately didn't work out.
Yeah, no, right. Man, it was family. It was really cool because they embraced me. When you're coming in, everybody has a first day of school. So it's one of those things where they're kind of filling you out. But the same way with Coach Ritchie, and Coach French, those guys saw me and they were like, how in the hell did he slip through the cracks?
Yeah.
And once guys really figured it out, and I had the opportunity to perform out there on the field with them in practice, they were like, nah, let's do it. And it was that vibe, man. And they embraced me. And I'm good with all those guys to this day. And that's the beautiful thing about it, man. It was family. It was just we had a purpose, and it was really cool to be a part of that purpose and be accepted, when I came in like I did, because like I said, I didn't know anything about the game. I had to really, 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 it was like baptism by fire. And it was a cool deal just to watch that thing and be around those guys that were professional and just like you say, in '01, they knew that we should have did that, right? And then coming in '02, it was the exact same vibe. And and I hate that it didn't work out because, man, I would have loved to have been a part of that, a Grey Cup champion and all those things. But that's a fire that burns in me. So I'm like, okay, if I didn't do it as a player, I'm gonna do it as an owner. It has to happen, and
Yeah.
that's the mentality and the culture that I take with me, man.
Right on, right on. We're gonna get into that ownership, I promise you, in a second. One more question though about
Absolutely.
football. You've mentioned Coach French, you've mentioned
Yeah.
Coach Ritchie, you
Yeah.
mentioned one of my fave, Coach Tomlin, where the standard is a standard. But what coach do you think had the most impact on you as a professional and post-professional?
Ooh, that's a good question, man. Oh man. Ooh. Whew. As a professional, I would have to say, wow, I've been a part of 8 different teams, guys. So that's a lot of coaches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Hmm. Man, that's a tough one. I don't really get that a lot. So I would say, okay, CFL wise, I'd say Roger French, just because of his reach, of all the different guys that he coached. Because
Mhm.
I could go to a team and I'd mention Roger French's name, and automatically I have brothers. So that was really cool for me to go to KC and have three guys that were already there that played for Coach French, and we
Mm.
just embraced each other. They embraced me, I embraced them. I was like, wow, that's what's up. NFL wise, man, it's man, I would say Coach T, to be honest with you. Even though it wasn't a situation of being coached by him,
Yeah.
just the impact, from knowing him and to us being in that same grind. Because real funny story, while I was chasing getting to the NFL, he was doing the same similar situation, right? So he was, handing out his resume, and we kind of crossed paths in certain rooms because I was showing up, at some of these
Mm.
events, especially at the Senior Bowl, right? And we would see each other and kind of talk and just, head nod and those types of things. And then for him to get on with Tampa Bay, and as a secondary coach, and then me playing for the Texans, I would
Mm.
see him, during the preseasons, and then we'd embrace, and he'd be like, "Man, keep going, keep going." And I'm telling him the same thing in those types of scenarios. So I think it would be Coach T, man, just to kind of watch him evolve, from where we started to where he is now, and how he is that standard,
Mm.
and how he's consistent. And it is what it is. It's consistent. This is what we do, and that's the same way that I operate. With what I do. So I think that will say Coach French, CFL, and I say Coach Tomlin, is as far as the NFL is concerned.
Nice, nice. I'm an actor full time, so I'm a
Yeah,
creative like you. But
yeah,
at the same time, I appreciate Tomlin, the way he's open to relationships. That's what I love.
yeah,
You and I can talk about Coach Tomlin another time for 45, 2 hours.
yeah, yeah.
It don't matter.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about what you want to do with player ownership and changing the DNA of professional sports. We've heard you on Twitter. Some great ideas. We've seen the athletes that you're working with, former CFLers.
Right,
So
right.
how do you want to change that DNA? How do you want to come in as an ownership? What are your ideas?
It's relationships, just like you said. You got to look at, and I'll say this to the day I die. You have to look at these organizations for what they are. The two main groups that are associated with these teams are the fans and the players. And unfortunately, we're looked at as commodities. We can be traded as players. As fans, these organizations kind of look at us like, you may not be here forever, but then you got family members that are following your footsteps. So I always got you. And I think that's the psychological profile that they have when it comes down to it. And what I've seen in my due diligence and my studies. Um, but it's about the relationships, man. It's about that culture. It has to be family. These guys got to want to go to war for you, and
Mhm.
they respect you even more when you are cut from that cloth. And the fans the same way. If they can really identify with who is who and who's running teams and those types of things, it's family at that point. I've been on teams where I didn't even talk to the owner. I wanted to, but they were not, there, right? They were
Mhm.
there, but they weren't. It was almost like an untouchable type of scenario, and it shouldn't be like that. If you want to really take a team to the next level or a league to the next level, it's about really having a dynamic that is servant driven. And that's kind of what I talk about with the DNA of this thing, man. You have all these athletes that are, going out and putting their lives on the line for these teams, but they're not considered family. I'm like, nah. If I've given up so much of myself to make sure that this organization is going to be steady and going to thrive, even after I'm done, I'm a part of the family.
Mm.
It may be extended, but I'm a part of the family. And the same thing with the fans. They're spending their hard-earned money to come and be a part of this thing, and they want to be heard, and that's ultimately what the DNA switch is, and the DNA change and the shift is. We want to be able to give the fans a voice. We want to be able to give the athletes a voice, and we want to be able to bring them into this experience, and really teach them the logistics of what is going on. Because I don't just want you to come to a game and drink a beer and get this hot dog and so on and so forth, and now you're just watching the game. Because if the game goes sideways and now we're losing, now you're doing is causing havoc, and before you know it, you're fighting and everything else. But
Yeah.
if you're looking at other instances of what is going on logistically, like where the cameras are placed, being able to vote on certain aspects of the game, now we've engaged you, and we're not uh, you know we're not alienating you,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of the fans from my studies and testing and all these different things, when I threw my name in the hat for a GM in the NFL, I started talking to the fans, man. I didn't want to talk to anybody else. I already talked to all of the higher ups and the presidents and team owners and those guys. I didn't want their opinion. I wanted to see what the fans were talking about because they challenged me. And when you challenge me, and I'm looking at you and I'm going back and forth and I'm giving you facts of what this thing should look like and what it can look like, you start to get that type of connection with the fans. So it's about their relationships. It's about being able to be in a building and everybody feels that, all the way
Hmm.
from the tip top all the way down to the groundskeepers. It has to be that. And if you don't have that, it's there's some separation there, and it all starts at the top, man. So I gladly put my name out there when it comes down to it. But all of these different players, these guys have seen me be consistent. From day one, they know what I'm about, and that's how it always been. Saying, "Hey, football is cool. Don't get me wrong, but there's somebody cutting checks here. Either you're going to be a check writer or a check chaser all your life,
Hmm.
and you got to understand you can't play forever. A lot of guys want to. A lot of guys say, "Hey, I don't know what I'm going to do," but I've always been that guy where I was like, "Hey, nah, it's more to it than this." And everybody that knows me, especially from the sports space in that world, they already know what I'm on. We may be watching a game. They're like, we already know you scouting talent. We already know you're looking at certain aspects of the game,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just different in my mindset. So, yeah, that's what the whole situation with the DNA shift is. It's giving the people the power. Not all the power, but giving them enough to where they're like, hey, here's what I like. Let's vote on it. Let's figure it out, and it just keeps everybody engaged, man, because I don't want you to just go home with an experience, because that's not good. That's unsatisfactory. Yeah.
Hmm.
So we've been fans. I mean, so part of this ownership thing, like we've been fans of the CFL for a long time. And every
Right.
time we think it's getting better, the game is growing, it kind of reverts back,
Yeah.
and then the pandemic hit and hurt even more.
Yeah.
What do you think the CFL really needs to do to start growing this game more? And what we see when we're at games,
Yeah.
it's a lot of our age people, right? There's not a lot of younger people. Like we used to go
Right.
to games when we
Right.
were
Right.
18, 20, but we don't see that as much.
Right.
So what do you think the CFL would need to do to help grow this game?
Man, it's a fine line between we've always done it this way and innovation.
Yeah.
You it's enough room in the sandbox for everybody to play. I look at that, and I watch my children. Right, I see, where I look at what they're doing, and I'm like, man, I don't understand that. But then I pull myself back and say, well, it was the same way for my parents.
Yeah.
Right, so there's always going to be a generational gap, and you have to be able to, like I say, use the relationship in order to facilitate the change that you want to see. A lot of times we got to get out our own way, man. How we've always done it is detrimental to growth, and that's the thing. You have to be able to adapt or you die. It's just that simple. And it's unfortunate that a lot of the higher ups don't get it, and this is what we're doing, is my way or the highway. But that changes really quickly, and I've said it before and I'll say this again, that one of the quotes that I live by, die by, is what Sam Walton said. The customer can hire and fire whoever they want in the building by taking their money elsewhere. So when I say the fans have the power, they really do, and they can make the changes. And then once you get to a point where you're losing so much money and you're just hemorrhaging, you got to figure out how to stop the bleeding. And what that means is it's up to us to say, hey, this is what we want. We want innovation. We want those different things, and the league is dabbling in it. They got their toes in it. And from my conversations with them and talking to them, and I think what we presented to them is a lot. But when it comes down to what we're doing and how we see it, you have to have multiple streams of revenue coming in outside of ticket sales, concessions, parking, and merch. You got to. You know, it can't be ticket driven. I want to be able to make money from individuals that are across the globe. And that's streaming, that's the metaverse, that's blockchain, that's utilizing all of the different things that we have, because once that happens, now you're able to tap into the younger demographic. And we're talking Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, and the baby boomers at the same time. So like when I say that there's enough room in the sandbox for everybody, I really do mean that, man. And that's what we've presented to them. And that's what they've seen out of us. And, you know, we're in a good spot, man. I'm excited about where the league can go. You know, I really want to see them go to the next level. I want them to be the trendsetters when it comes down to the WNBA, MLB, NFL, NBA. I want them to copy the CFL. You know, and that's my thing, man. I'm all about innovation. I'm all about, you know, just pushing the envelope and bringing a lot of change to the table. But this game can generate a lot of money. You just got to go do it, man. That's it.
Yeah. So what does like a player driven ownership group look like compared to, say, a billionaire, 1, 2 single owners? Are you looking more like of a hybrid community and player? Is it more player board driven? Yeah, what does that look like?
It looks like teamwork, man. It looks like being able to really connect with the fans. You know, a lot of these guys that are billionaires are awkward, Doc. You know, I've been in some rooms with some of these guys, man, and a lot of times it's a vanity play. You know, it's ego, and there's no room for that in professional sports. You know, and really being, you know, one of the ones that are going to the next level and creating dynasties and those types of things. But when it comes down to more player driven, it's teamwork. It's being out there in the trenches with the guys and knowing what they're cut from. You know, because I need to know that you're mentally tough enough to be able to go out there and physically do it, and also able to take that to the next level in business. So these guys are curated, man. I've watched guys, you know, for a number of years, and I'm like, okay, he's a part of my tribe. He's a part of my tribe. She's a part of my tribe. So the situation that we're bringing to the table is good business, is great teamwork, and also great minds that are thinking about innovation and also understanding what they've done on the field and their competitive nature. Because one thing I'll say all the time is, you know, these companies are spending billions of dollars to send their employees to learn how to be competitive when we were born with it. So you know, it's all, it's just in rocket science, man. I think we tend to make it so much more than what it is. And a lot of times with fans, they're like, well, you were a player. How can you be an owner? I'm like, how can I not be an owner? And here's why, and here's the reasons why. And after I go down the line of all the facts, people learn really quickly with me. Facts don't give a damn about your opinion. Doesn't. And I'll say it with a straight face, and I'll bust you up with the numbers. And then after we're done, we'll go have a beer together. It's just that simple, you know, and that's, I think that's what the leagues need. I think that what the CFL needs. You know, I would love to really be able to lead that charge and also bring in the guys that are a part of this thing. Realistically, man, we got now 500 or so guys that are like, hey, what are we doing? What's next, right? So when you have guys like that, be it Hall of Famers, be it perennial Grey Cup champions, all stars, all those things, we get a chance to come back and bridge that gap between the older generation and this newer generation, and that equates dollars. You know, numbers wise, I kind of broke that down on Twitter a little bit when it comes down to the guys that are a part of my Rolodex as opposed to the next guy's Rolodex, but those numbers grow really quickly. And you look at the followers that are people that are just, hey, I love what they're doing. I want to be a part of it. That equates dollars, and that equates a liquidity event for the league that really will help them. But it's so much bigger than that, man. When it comes down to the plan we're bringing to the table, but you're talking about innovation, teamwork. You're talking about guys who are mentally tough. That will go get this job done, man. Come hook or crook, we'll get it done. Period.
As football fans, we've been crying about innovation in the CFL for a long time. Like, we're figuring even a team, not to pick on teams, but in a market the size of Toronto, the Argos are about 2 decades behind in regards to marketing to start a new generation of fans. And it's really sad. And to have former players would be incredible as part of that team.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love to be a part of that initiative. I mean, there's so much that can be done. And you got to understand when it comes down to competition, I think a lot of owners and I think the leagues look at, so much competition as a bad thing. Competition is great. It brings out the best, and that's where the team aspect and team driven ownership, guys who are players, we look at that as a great challenge, right? Because every week we're out there, hey, this is the next opponent. We're watching film on them, all those things. And that's exactly what it is in business, man. I mean, I relish in the opportunity to talk to anybody. I love it, whether it be naysayers or the individuals who are devil's advocates. Man, that's game time for me, and they quickly find out that hey, this cat isn't backing down at anything, and I'm having fun, right? And that's because that's that competitive nature, and that's being in front of the cameras. That's there's gonna be hardships. There's gonna be hard times, and I tell people all the time you have never been on a roller coaster that's been any good that doesn't go up and down. If it is and it's just in one spot, that's a kiddie ride. We don't want
Yeah.
that. We want that roller coaster. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. And once
Yeah.
people get it, now the environment changes, the culture changes, and then the fans get it, and it's contagious, it's infectious. And that's how you build dynasties, man. This, like I say, this isn't hard, man.
Mm.
This is a simple scenario, and it just takes people coming together, and teamwork and doing it that way, man. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to any kind of challenges. The league knows I'm here. We've had, like I said, we've had some discussions, man. I'm like everybody else, man. I'm like, hey, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm going to throw a curveball question at you before I
cool,
segue. Actually, this is going to segue to Bernard's question pretty good in a second, though. But
okay,
you talk about revenue streams and making money. You
yeah,
played in Edmonton for a while.
yeah.
Is Commonwealth Stadium the place for them to stay? Can they make money in that huge stadium? Or is it just about being smart with the space?
They can, they can. It just depends on what the city wants to do, right? The city owns that stadium, right? So from a private standpoint, if you're talking about private ownership, coming in with private dollars, they have a 5-year lease agreement that they signed in February. That 5-year period, if I were the owner, let's just play that card.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
were the owner, we're going to take that 5 years, and that's going to be a transitional period, right? The transitional period will be going to another stadium. It's going to go to a sports and entertainment district in which you would have condos, you'd have amphitheaters, you have concert venues, you'd have retail, you have restaurants, you would have all these different things surrounded, even other sports venues, and you'd have a brand new stadium in which that stadium will be the anchor. I'll put it like that. I can't give it everything, but
Yeah.
essentially we would be able to bridge that gap from old and new and turn that into something where that is now a destination. Now, it still can happen at Commonwealth, right? It just depends on who's doing what and who's, fighting and that's my thing. From a private standpoint, a lot of people get up in arms when you talk new stadiums, they think taxes. I'm like, no, you don't have to get the fans involved with this. It's private money, right? It's about being able to come in and figure out how to generate money 365 days a year, not just when the
Mm.
season is going. And a lot of people are like, well, how can you do that with private money? Easy. It's real estate. It's just like McDonald's. That's real estate. That's the founder. You got to watch the movie, man. I tell
Oh, I
people all the
did.
time,
Yeah.
man. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is it's so much more to it when you really sit down and you look at it. You be like, you have got to be kidding me. No, this is what it is.
Well, yeah, if you can do it with private money, the public would definitely love that for sure. Because yeah, like you
Oh, yeah.
say, anytime new stadium, it's like taxes. I don't want to raise my taxes.
Right, right,
Like
right.
the
Yeah.
stadium built here,
Yeah.
it turned out to be a gong show in terms of taxes and write
Oh
offs and all
yeah.
that stuff. So
Oh
yeah,
man, listen, I get it, and that's one of the things that I've studied. You got to understand, like, I learned from other people's mistakes. It's kind of like going back to my brothers. They were the ones who were supposed to be the professional athletes. They were out chasing the girls, they were out in the streets, this, that, and the third. They were doing their thing. They were young, all these different things. Best athletes, but I'm the youngest, so you got a little brother just watching. You're like, okay, that's how you don't do it in order to
Yeah.
do it. And that's the same scenario from looking at all of these different stadiums, man. I have researched all of these stadiums, all of these deals. all of these owners in the CFL and the NFL, right? So I understand where they come from, what drives them, and I'm cerebral with it. So when you look at how we can take certain aspects of what the fans would have to incur in reference to taxes, in reference to taxes, it's ways to work around that and offset that to where they're not even feeling the thing, and yet they have something tangible in their hands, in which they come to these stadiums and now they're like, okay, I get it now. And I laugh when I look at the comments. I mean, I'm on Reddit, I'm on Twitter, and like I say, I go back and forth, and I'm just kind of just reading, and everybody's in that mindset that if there's a new stadium, we got to pay for it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I get it.
It's hard to get that out of our heads, you know.
Oh yeah, no, and that's the crazy part about it, man. It's just unfortunate that it's done like that, and it's been done like that. But this is how we've done it in the past, right? We got to get away from that, because now with what we're doing with 7-3 SARE and the alliance and how we're setting up this private equity play, we're bringing in investors who may not be in sports or may not want to be in sports, but we have the real estate component, right? And now you got sports that is packaged with it. So it's an extra caveat that changes the game. But this is real estate, man. We're not talking about sports. When you really sit down and you look at it, you be like, you got to be shitting me. Yes, right. It's real estate. And people now look at it and be like, wow. So that's a part of it. But we would take that 5-year situation and ease people into it. They'd be ready for it. I promise you.
Right on. So speaking of stadiums, which CFL stadium and which NFL stadium were your favorites to play in?
Man. Well, I would say I enjoyed the Seahawks Stadium out there in Seattle. As far as the CFL is concerned, I enjoyed playing. I think I had some of my better games in Edmonton. I enjoyed that, playing there and playing against them. But I think I had a lot of fun in BC, playing in a dome there. But everybody changed once I left. Now everybody started getting new stadiums, man. Because I was in Canadian, so you already know. Yeah, you already know it was. You hit the turf, it's a wrap. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think I would have loved to play at Mosaic. As far as with the Riders, I would love to play in that stadium. That's a beautiful stadium. Definitely the Bombers' new stadium, man. I love that vibe there. I'm looking forward to getting back to seeing that, man, and just being around that atmosphere. But I was a little before these new innovative stadiums came, man. So
yeah, I guess you would have played at Taylor Field then too, right? That would have been
just as
you
bad already as Winnipeg
know,
Stadium. I'm good. Yeah, it was rough. It was, hey, like I say, man, I saw it when I first came in. I was like, okay. It was kind of primitive, to be honest, to be frank. But at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I can see where this can go. And for the CFL to be where they are now and to see where they can be, I'm like, it's really time for us to speak up, man, because they should be the head and shoulders above all these leagues, NFL included.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we're hoping for. So when you played here or even in the NFL as well, I guess, best pass rushers you faced in the CFL and NFL?
I would say Cam Wake, CFL.
Oh,
yeah.
Cam was good. Cam was all right, but yeah, no, I got some really good film against Cam. Cam he had to bring his lunch when he came to me, because I was coming from the league, so I already knew what the situation was.
Yeah.
I had some really good games against Cam. I don't think I gave up a sack against him, which was cool, because he was 22 and 25 sacks and some crazy astronomical number. Warren Sapp was really good. I think Booger McFarland, all these guys. I played against those guys in college and in the league. So yeah, man, I had the opportunity to play against some really good guys, man. But I think up north, Cam was the benchmark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jeez. Left tackle, you got to see the best of him, eh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, every play. I love it. He knew what it was.
Man. Yeah, you grinding.
He knew what
I
it
don't
was.
envy you.
And
Oh
that's the
my
thing, man.
gosh.
You got to understand, man. This is an offensive lineman mentality. Just shut up and put your pads on.
Yeah.
Nobody cares, man. Like, get the job done. Like, that's the mentality, right? That's the mentality that everybody in the organization has to have in order to get to a championship caliber mindset. Is shut up and put your pads on. Because my thing is, whether it be expansion, whether it be an established team, whatever the situation is, we're gonna hit you in your mouth and we're gonna wait to see how you react.
Yeah.
I got to see that. I need to see that out of you in order to say, okay, now I know where we need to go, right? And that's what I love about sports, because you can get knocked down and you can get right back up, and you have less than damn 30 seconds to get your mind right and get that off of your mind before the next play.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people have not experienced in life when it comes down to it, because you will be the victor, and you will be victorious, but you will have some instances where somebody will get the best of you. But that's short memory, man. I mean, we got another play to go to, and that's just what it is.
Yeah, you can't let those hurdles hold you back.
Yeah.
Nah, man, nah. They end up turning into a snowball, man. And that's not good. That's not good. That's a defeated mindset, man.
Yeah,
and that's the last thing you'll hear out of me, Doc. Any and every day, man. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Man, but we've loved having you on. It's been amazing. We love your ideas about CFL growth and ownership, and we hope that there's more life to this conversation and more action to this.
Hey, we'll see.
Yeah. But we can't let you go without you doing some quick shots with us. We ask all of our guests quick questions. We want to hear the first answer that comes to your head. Don't delay, but don't worry, we're not going to get you in trouble either. It's all clean. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. No worries.
All right. So here we go. Favorite Canadian city to play in as a visiting player?
Edmonton.
Favorite American city to play in as a visiting player?
Atlanta.
Funniest teammate in the NFL?
Willie Rowe.
Oh, Willie Rowe. He's a good lineman right there. Not this funny. He's a good
Arkansas.
lineman. Yeah. Funniest teammate in the CFL?
Calvin McCarty.
Good running back too.
Yeah, damn good running back, man. He's funny, man.
Yeah.
My guy, man. Calvin is funny, man.
And as Winnipeggers, we got to finish with this one. First memory that comes to mind about playing with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
What was it? Earl's? The barbecue spot?
I thought you were going to say something like meeting Dave Ritchie or something like that. And you're talking about Earl's.
Earl's, exactly. Yep. After practice, we go to Earl's.
Yeah, we know the draw of Earl's.
Right on,
we
just
get
down,
it
there
too.
you go. Just down the street back then.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Garrick, I can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing your visions with us. Anything you want to say to the CFL and Bomber fans that we have with us?
Let us know your social media handles so people can check out your the information you have on everything about all this.
I just tell people to just search me out online. Any web search apparatus you want to jump on, I'm there, man. I'm not hard to find. Twitter's at Commissioner GJ. Instagram is official Garrick Jones, at official Garrick Jones. Yeah, man, I'm easy to find, guys. I'm not hard to find. I'm always doing something or a part of some situation, which is really cool. But just to talk to the CFL, man, we're here. We're ready to rock and roll. Money's there. It's not a problem. We can get to it, but we just need the designation. Once that happens, now we can turn the floodgates and open them up, and we can get any and everything that we need in order to make sure that we're where we need to be. And we just want to be a part of this thing, to pump life into it, and just take this thing to the next level, because it's time. The fans want it. They're demanding it. And I don't ever want to turn on the TV and see those stands empty. That hurts my heart. That hurts my heart, because I put my life on the line for the league. So it's time for the league to say, hey, here's an opportunity for you guys to be a part of this thing, because you paved the way, and your quality of life is diminished because of you paving that way, and the physicality that you had to exude on that field. We just want the opportunity to be a part of this thing, because we are a part of the history, and we are a part of making the history that other people are going to read about. And when it comes down to the fans, man, there's no better fan base than the CFL, man. So.
Right on.
Dude, that's a golden clip right there, Garrick Jones. That's a golden clip right there. We're gonna share.
I got you, man. I got you. Don't worry about it. I'll give you $1 million of them now.
He's a commissioner for a reason.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Again, thank you for joining us, Benny. Do you have anything to say to our friends?
Know what? Just thanks a lot for joining us, Garrick, and have a good week.
I appreciate you guys, man. I thank y'all for reaching out, man. And man, hey, you guys are a part of this movement, man. I love it. Anytime you need me, like I say, we get some situations going and we get some ownership, you guys will be right there in the mix with us. I promise you, man.
We love spreading the word about this game that we love. So when you're in Winnipeg, make sure you visit us in section 112. You talking about beers, we got beers for you. We got beers for you in section 112. All right. So friends, from the words of LeVar Burton, we'll see y'all next time.
Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.